All right, let's kick off this explainer with a pretty provocative question. Who is actually steering the ship in the modern digital campus? And maybe even more importantly, who evaluates the technical experts holding your institution together? Today, we're going to unpack a massive structural crisis that is hiding right in plain sight.
To really get to the bottom of this, we're diving into some absolutely groundbreaking research by Dr. Ronnie Rodas. He uncovers a hidden organizational crisis happening in educational institutions all around us. Dr. Rodas's work looks closely at what happens when the people leading an institution simply don't have the technical background to understand the work of the specialists keeping the lights on. His research is absolutely crucial because it forces us to completely rethink how we view risk, management, and expertise in the digital age.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The modern socio-technical campus. 2. Defining supervisory mismatch. 3. The illusion of oversight. 4. Hidden risks and specialist burnout. And 5. The hybrid supervision solution.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the modern socio-technical campus, an evolution of work.
Think about this for a second. A modern campus literally cannot function. It can't even open its digital doors without its learning management systems, massive student databases, and 24/7 cybersecurity operations. Now, the professionals who sustain these platforms, they're performing work that is incredibly complex, but it has very, very low organizational visibility. It's like a giant puzzle happening behind the scenes. The technology has completely sprinted into the future, but the management structures, well, they're kind of stuck in a completely different era.
Moving right along to Section 2, Defining Supervisory Mismatch, the Core Problem.
Dr. Ronnie Rodas coined a perfect term for this dynamic, supervisory mismatch. Now, we aren't talking about a bad hire here. It's a fundamental structural flaw. It happens when the person holding the clipboard, the one with the formal authority to evaluate performance, simply lacks the specific technical domain knowledge required to distinguish really competent work from completely incompetent work. You know how bureaucracies are, right? They absolutely love things that are easy to document, like, say, a master's degree in administration. But technical mastery? That's messy. It's complex, it's really hard to codify, and to a non-technical manager, it's practically invisible. Administrative credentials might look great on paper, but they don't actually help a supervisor understand a complex data infrastructure. Because of this, the technical work remains entirely illegible to the very managers tasked with overseeing it.
That brings us to Section 3, the illusion of oversight, a self-reinforcing cycle.
Dr. Rodas brings up this concept of symbolic supervision, and it's a real eye-opener. Think about it. When a supervisor can't actually understand the work, what happens to the performance evaluation? The supervisor might hand out a glowing 5-star rating just because the specialist answers emails quickly and shows up to meetings on time. But the actual technical code? Totally ignored. The form gets signed, HR is happy, and everyone gets this totally false sense of security.
So what actually happens on the ground? Well, because the boss can't properly evaluate the work, the specialists just end up regulating themselves. They check their own code, they lean heavily on their peer networks, and they maintain quality all on their own just to keep the whole shebang running. Sounds great, right? Until you realize the institution is flying completely blind. Sure, the institution is receiving competent work right now, but it has absolutely no mechanism to verify it, and even more dangerously, no way to detect the exact moment when that competent work stops.
Let's dive into Section 4, Hidden Risks and Specialist Burnout, the Unseen Costs.
When the person calling the shots doesn't grasp the tech, and the tech expert has zero decision-making authority, these invisible latent failures just start piling up. And we are not just talking about minor efficiency hiccups here. We're talking about massive cybersecurity exposure, severe data governance breaches, and major accreditation disasters that are just waiting to explode. Relying entirely on the invisible goodwill of your staff? That is simply not a sustainable risk management strategy.
To put this into perspective, just look at this looming deadline. By 2027, digital accessibility under ADA Title II isn't just a friendly suggestion. It's a strict, legal, technical standard. If an administrator cannot evaluate whether a document carries the correct heading structure, or if a platform satisfies keyboard navigation requirements, they literally cannot assess the institution's exposure. This supervisory mismatch translates directly into unmeasured legal liability. And then there's the human cost. Dr. Rodas's research reveals something heartbreaking. This entire house of cards rests squarely on the shoulders of your very top specialists. They're the ones absorbing all of this uncompensated, invisible quality control. They're doing the exhausting extra work to keep the institution safe, but they get zero competent recognition for it because, well, their boss just doesn't understand what they do. Eventually, they burn out, they quit, and all that unrecorded institutional knowledge walks right out the door with them.
Thankfully, there is a way out. Section 5, the hybrid supervision solution, fixing the structure.
We've defined the problem, so how do we actually fix this without completely blowing up the existing org chart? Dr. Rodas proposes a really elegant, highly practical fix, safely separating personnel authority from technical evaluation. It's a game changer. The administrative supervisor keeps authority over the budget, HR issues, and basic compliance. But then, a technical evaluator, someone who has zero power to fire anyone, steps in purely to assess technical quality and identify risk. Because they don't hold personnel authority over the specialist, it completely removes the fear of retaliation and opens the door for candid, highly accurate feedback.
Implementing this happens in a few clear steps. First, diagnose the mismatch in current job descriptions. Next, revise the evaluation forms to include a very specific technical section. Then, bring in a qualified technical evaluator. You could even borrow an expert from a peer institution if you need to. Finally, integrate those findings into the institution's official risk register. This process systematically turns that invisible specialist labor into visible, manageable institutional data and securely closes the blind spot for good.
So I want to leave you with a final thought drawn directly from Dr. Rodas's findings. Ask yourself, is your organization's stability built on clear, technically fluent oversight? Or are you just coasting on the invisible burnout of the specialists quietly holding your digital walls up? It is a critical question for literally any modern organization, and addressing it structurally is the absolute only sustainable way forward.